Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because at 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you.
The galaxy was vast and unforgiving, and nowhere was that more evident than the Arena Prime, a coliseum carved into the heart of a desolate moon. For centuries, it had been the stage for blood sports, where creatures of every species fought for survival against beasts bred for carnage. Tonight, the star attraction was Crevariath, the so-called scourge of the Zenthari Nebula. The crowd, a seething mass of alien spectators, filled the arena to capacity. Their cries echoed off the massive metal walls, an unsettling cacophony of hisses, growls, and guttural cheers. Vendors moved through the stands, selling everything from glowing alien beverages to freeze-dried organs from the arena's previous victims. Sam McAllister stood in the shadows of the arena's preparation chamber, clutching a crude spear. The human colony on the distant planet of New Avalon had been peaceful, far from the center of galactic conflicts. That peace had been shattered when slavers raided the colony and abducted him along with others. Now he was here, forced to fight for his life in this pit of horrors. But Sam wasn't alone. "Daddy, I'm scared." Sam turned to see his 7-year-old son Jack, peeking out from behind a crate. Sam's heart clenched. Jack wasn't supposed to be here. When Sam had been taken, he'd assumed Jack was safe, hidden in their small home on New Avalon. But somehow, his son had stowed away on the slaver ship, refusing to let his father face this nightmare alone. Sam crouched down, placing a reassuring hand on Jack's shoulder. "Buddy, I told you to stay hidden. You shouldn't be here." "I don't want to leave you," Jack said, his wide blue eyes brimming with tears. "I'll stay out of the way. I promise." Sam sighed. He couldn't be angry. Jack was all he had left, and he understood his son's stubborn determination. But this wasn't the kind of fight Jack could understand. The thought of his little boy witnessing the carnage to come made Sam's stomach twist. Before he could respond, the heavy iron gates at the far end of the preparation chamber groaned open. Harsh floodlights bathed the room in cold, artificial light, and the roar of the crowd surged like a tidal wave. A guard barked in an alien language, motioning for the fighters to step forward. "Stay here," Sam whispered, his voice firm but gentle. "No matter what happens, you stay hidden." Jack nodded reluctantly, his small hands clutching the edge of the crate. Sam stood and joined the other prisoners, a mix of humans and aliens who had been deemed disposable by their captors. They were herded into the arena, the blinding lights and deafening noise assaulting their senses. The sand beneath their feet was stained dark from countless battles, a grim reminder of the fate that awaited them. Above them, the announcer's voice boomed through the arena's speakers. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all kinds. Tonight, we bring you a spectacle unlike any other. Behold the scourge of the Zenthari Nebula, the terror of 1,000 worlds. The one, the only, Crevariath." The crowd erupted in a frenzy as the far gate of the arena creaked open. From the darkness emerged Crevariath, a creature of nightmares. The alien dragon towered over the battlefield, its obsidian scales shimmering like polished stone. Its glowing red eyes scanned the arena with predatory intent, and its maw opened in a deafening roar that sent a ripple of fear through the prisoners. Sam tightened his grip on the spear, his knuckles white. He knew he didn't stand a chance against something like this. None of them did. Hidden in the shadows of the preparation chamber, Jack watched as his father stepped into the arena. His small hands trembled, and his heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to run after his dad, to be with him no matter what, but he remembered his promise. For now, he stayed put. As Crevariath charged into the arena, the battle began in chaos. The prisoners scattered, their cries lost amid the dragon's roars and the crowd's cheers. Crevariath moved with terrifying speed, its massive claws cutting through the sand and anything in its path. One prisoner tried to jab at it with a spear, but the dragon swatted him aside like a fly. Jack's stomach churned as he saw his father narrowly dodge a swipe of the dragon's tail. Sam was fast, using his agility to evade the beast's attacks, but it was clear he was outmatched. Jack bit his lip, his small body trembling. He couldn't just sit there. Without thinking, Jack bolted from the chamber. The crowd gasped as the small human boy ran into the arena, his tiny figure stark against the massive dragon. Even Crevariath seemed momentarily confused, its glowing eyes narrowing as it focused on Jack. "Jack. No." Sam's voice rang out, filled with panic and desperation. But Jack didn't stop. His legs carried him forward until he was standing right in front of the colossal beast. Crevariath loomed over him, its breath hot and reeking of sulfur. The dragon lowered its head, sniffing the boy. The crowd fell silent, waiting for the inevitable. But Jack did something no one expected. He reached out, his small hand trembling, and gently touched the dragon's snout. Then, with tears streaming down his cheeks, he leaned forward and kissed it. "You're not bad," Jack whispered. "You're just scared, aren't you?" Crevariath froze, its glowing eyes softening. The dragon's massive body seemed to relax, its claws retracting slightly as it regarded the boy. The audience watched in stunned silence, unable to process what they were seeing. "Jack," Sam whispered, his voice breaking. Jack turned and looked at his father, smiling through his tears. "It's okay, Daddy. He's not going to hurt us." Crevariath rumbled softly, lowering its head to the ground. Jack climbed onto its snout, patting it gently. The once feared creature of the arena now seemed tame, almost docile, under the touch of the little boy. The crowd erupted in chaos. Guards scrambled to regain control, shouting orders and firing weapons. But Crevariath didn't flinch. It spread its massive wings, sending a gust of wind through the arena. With a powerful leap, it took to the skies, carrying Jack and Sam out of the Colosseum and into the freedom of the stars. The legend of the boy who tamed the deadliest dragon with a kiss was born that day. But for Jack, it was never about taming a monster. It was about showing compassion to a creature that had only known fear and pain. The roar of the crowd faded into the background as Crevariath towered over Jack, its massive form casting a shadow that engulfed the boy. The dragon's glowing red eyes locked onto him, its hot breath ruffling his hair. Every inch of its body radiated power and menace, and yet Jack didn't flinch. He stood his ground, his small hands trembling but steady. Sam's heart nearly stopped as he watched his son approach the dragon. "Jack," he shouted, his voice raw with terror. "Get back. Now." But Jack didn't move away. His wide, innocent eyes stayed fixed on the creature. Slowly, he raised a hand toward its snout. The crowd gasped in unison, and even the announcer seemed to falter. What is this? A human child has entered the arena. Someone stop him." The guards stationed at the arena's edge hesitated, their weapons half raised. No one wanted to be the one to interfere with the deadly beast's focus. They knew Crevariath's reputation: no mercy, no hesitation, no survivors. To step into the ring now would be a death sentence. The dragon lowered its massive head toward Jack, its nostrils flaring as it sniffed the boy. The air was heavy with tension, and the silence in the arena was deafening. The crowd leaned forward breathless, waiting for Crevariath to lash out and end the child's life in an instant. Instead, Jack stepped closer. From the edge of the arena, Sam's mind raced. His body screamed at him to act, to run forward and shield his son, but his legs refused to move. The enormity of the dragon, the finality of its presence, rooted him in place. All he could do was watch, helpless and horrified, as Jack reached out. "Jack, please," he whispered, his voice breaking. But Jack's small voice cut through the silence like a knife. "You're not scary," he said, his tone gentle and full of innocence. "You're just big and lonely." The crowd erupted into murmurs. Aliens of all shapes and sizes exchanged bewildered looks, their bloodlust momentarily forgotten. Even Crevariath seemed taken aback. The massive dragon tilted its head, letting out a low rumbling sound that was more curiosity than menace. Jack's hand touched the dragon's snout, his tiny fingers brushing over its rough, obsidian scales. The creature froze, its body tensing as if unsure how to react. Slowly, it lowered itself to the ground, folding its legs beneath it. Its massive tail curled around its body, and its glowing red eyes softened. Jack smiled, tears streaming down his cheeks. "See? You're not mean. You just needed someone to be nice to you." The boy's words carried through the arena, and the crowd fell silent once more. Even the most hardened spectators, those who had cheered for blood and carnage moments earlier, were struck dumb by what they were witnessing. Crevariath let out a low rumbling sound that reverberated through the arena. It wasn't a growl. It was a sound of contentment. In the control room overlooking the arena, the guards were in a panic. "What's it doing?" one of them barked, his scaled hands hovering over the console. "It's not attacking," another stammered, staring at the monitor in disbelief. "The kid tamed it?" "Ridiculous," their commander growled. "It's a beast. A weapon. Send in the shock drones." Small drones buzzed to life, their sleek forms gliding through the air toward Kraveriath. Each one was armed with a high-voltage shock charge, designed to subdue even the fiercest creatures. They converged on the dragon, their energy weapons crackling. In the arena, Jack turned to see the drones closing in. "No," he cried, his voice filled with panic. "Don't hurt him." The first drone fired, striking Kraveriath on its flank. The dragon roared in pain, its body convulsing as the electricity coursed through it. The crowd erupted into chaos, half cheering and half shouting in protest. Kraveriath thrashed, its claws digging into the sand as it struggled to shake off the assault. Jack ran to the dragon's side, his small body dwarfed by its massive form. "Stop it," he screamed, tears streaming down his face. "You're hurting him." Sam finally broke free of his paralysis. "Jack," he shouted, sprinting toward his son. Kraveriath's roars of pain turned to fury. Its eyes blazed brighter than ever, and with a powerful sweep of its tail, it destroyed the nearest drone. The remaining drones circled back, but the dragon leaped into the air, its massive wings unfurling. The gust of wind knocked the drones off course, sending them spiraling into the stands. The crowd scattered, panicked cries filling the air as Kraveriath took to the skies. Jack clung to the dragon's snout, his small hands gripping its scales. Sam reached the boy just in time, grabbing hold of one of the dragon's spines as it ascended. "Kraveriath!" Jack called, his voice trembling but determined. "Please don't hurt them. They didn't mean to." The dragon rumbled again, this time a low, soothing sound. It banked to the side, carrying Jack and Sam out of the arena and into the open sky. Below, the Colosseum descended into chaos, its owners and spectators scrambling to understand what had just happened. As the dragon soared higher, Sam tightened his grip on Jack. "What? How did you do that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Jack looked up at his father, his tear-streaked face breaking into a small smile. "I just told him the truth. He's not bad. He's just lonely." Sam stared at his son in disbelief, then at the massive dragon carrying them away. Kraveriath's flight was steady and controlled, its fury replaced by a calm that Sam never thought possible. "Jack," Sam whispered, holding his son close, "you might have just done the impossible." Far below, the arena grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared from view. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, Sam felt a flicker of hope. Whatever lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: Jack had changed everything. The legend of the little boy who tamed the galaxy's deadliest dragon was just beginning. The cold wind whipped past Jack and Sam as Kraveriath soared above the sprawling alien city surrounding the arena. Below, chaos reigned. Spectators fled in panic, guards scrambled to restore order, and the arena's management barked commands to launch pursuit ships. But none of that mattered to the trio in the sky. Jack sat perched on Kraveriath's snout, his small hands gripping the dragon's obsidian scales. Sam clung to one of its spines, his knuckles white from the strain. The dragon's powerful wings beat steadily, each stroke carrying them farther from danger. "Jack," Sam called, his voice strained. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Daddy," Jack replied, his voice filled with wonder. "He's really nice. I think he likes us." Sam stared at his son in disbelief. Nice wasn't a word he'd ever associate with a creature like Kraveriath. Yet here they were, riding the galaxy's most feared predator as if it were a tame beast. Kraveriath let out a low rumble, a sound that vibrated through its massive body. It wasn't the roar of rage they'd heard in the arena. It was calm, almost affectionate. Jack giggled and patted its nose. "You're a good dragon," he said softly. "Thank you for saving us." Sam couldn't believe what he was seeing. Somehow, his son had done the impossible. He'd connected with Kraveriath, a creature bred for destruction, and turned it into an ally. As they flew, the lights of the city faded into the distance, replaced by the barren expanse of the moon's desert. Kraveriath angled its wings and descended toward a rocky outcrop, landing gracefully on a wide plateau. It folded its wings and lowered its head, allowing Jack and Sam to climb down. Sam's legs wobbled as his feet touched solid ground. He steadied himself, his eyes never leaving the massive dragon. "Jack," he said cautiously, "I don't know what just happened, but we need to keep moving. The guards won't stop looking for us." Kraveriath rumbled again, this time lowering its body to the ground. It nudged Jack gently with its snout, then turned its glowing red eyes to Sam. "I think he wants to help," Jack said, his voice full of excitement. "Help?" Sam echoed, his disbelief evident. "Jack, This thing nearly killed me 5 minutes ago. He's not a thing, Daddy, Jack said, crossing his arms in a way that reminded Sam of his late wife. His name's Crevariath. And he saved us. Sam rubbed his temples. Okay, fine. Crevariath. But how do you know he's not just waiting to eat us? Jack frowned and looked at the dragon. You're not going to eat us, right? Crevariath huffed, a blast of warm air that ruffled Jack's hair. The boy laughed. See? He's nice. Sam sighed, realizing he wasn't going to win this argument. He crouched down next to Jack and looked into his son's determined eyes. All right, buddy. If you trust him, I'll trust him. The moment was interrupted by the distant hum of engines. Sam looked to the horizon and saw a fleet of pursuit ships closing in, their searchlights sweeping across the desert. They found us, Sam muttered, his mind racing. They had no weapons, no cover, and no way to outrun the ships on foot. Jack turned to Crevariath, his voice urgent. They're going to hurt you again. We have to go. Crevariath raised its head, its red eyes narrowing as it watched the approaching ships. It let out a deep, resonant growl that echoed across the plateau. The sound wasn't one of fear, it was a challenge. Jack, get back, Sam said, pulling his son behind him. But before he could say more, Crevariath spread its massive wings and launched into the air. The ships opened fire, streaks of plasma lighting up the night sky. Crevariath dodged with surprising agility, twisting and rolling as the blasts narrowly missed its body. It roared, the sound a defiant declaration of its power. Sam grabbed Jack's hand. We need to find cover. No. Jack shouted, pulling free. He ran to the edge of the plateau, his voice rising above the chaos. Crevariath. You can do it. The dragon heard him. With a powerful beat of its wings, it shot toward the lead ship. The pilot panicked, firing wildly, but Crevariath twisted midair and slammed into the ship with its claws. The impact sent the vessel spiraling to the ground in a fiery explosion. The remaining ships hesitated, their pilots clearly unsure of how to deal with a creature that was supposed to be contained and controlled. Crevariath didn't give them a chance to regroup. It swooped low, its tail whipping through the air and smashing into another ship. The rest of the fleet broke formation and retreated, their engines flaring as they disappeared into the night. Crevariath landed back on the plateau, its chest heaving from exertion. It folded its wings and lowered its head toward Jack, who ran forward and hugged its snout. You were amazing. Jack said, his voice full of pride. Sam approached cautiously, his heart pounding. You saved us, he said, his voice tinged with awe. Why? Crevariath didn't answer, of course, but its red eyes softened as it looked at Jack. Sam realized then that the dragon had chosen them, bonded with his son in a way he couldn't explain. All right, Sam said, his tone resolute. If you're with us, we're with you. Jack beamed and patted Crevariath's snout. We're a team now. As the moon's twin suns began to rise, the three of them prepared to leave. Crevariath lowered its body again, allowing Jack and Sam to climb onto its back. Sam hesitated for a moment, his survival instinct screaming at him to find another way. But then he looked at Jack, who sat confidently between the dragon's spines, and he knew there was no turning back. All right, big guy, Sam said as he climbed up. Let's see what you've got. Crevariath spread its wings and took to the skies, carrying them toward the unknown. Below, the arena and its captors shrank into insignificance. They were free now, bound together by an unspoken trust that defied reason. For the first time in years, Sam felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, they'd found a way to survive, and perhaps even change the galaxy along the way. The bond between a boy, his father, and the deadliest dragon in the galaxy had been forged in fire, and it was unbreakable. Crevariath's wings sliced through the cool, thin air of the upper atmosphere, carrying Jack and Sam farther from the chaos of the arena. Below them, the barren moon stretched out in a seemingly endless expanse of rocky plains and canyons. The pursuit ships had retreated, and for the first time in days, the silence felt almost peaceful. Jack leaned forward, resting his chin on Crevariath's massive head. We're safe now, aren't we, big guy? The dragon rumbled in response, a low resonant sound that vibrated through its entire body. Sam, seated farther back, gripped one of Crevariath's spines, his mind racing. They had escaped, but what now? They couldn't outrun the arena's masters forever. The Syndicate would hunt them down, and they didn't just have ships, they had resources, soldiers, and power. Sam leaned closer to Jack, his voice steady despite his uncertainty. Buddy, we can't just keep running. We need to figure out where to go. Jack turned to his father, his small face filled with quiet confidence. We don't have to run, Daddy. Crevariath will protect us. Sam hesitated, glancing at the enormous creature beneath them. It had saved their lives, yes, but was it enough to stand against an entire galactic network? He sighed, knowing his son's optimism was unshakable. All right, he said finally. But we need a plan. As the trio flew, the horizon shifted, and a faint structure came into view, an ancient outpost nestled into the side of a cliff. It looked abandoned, its spires crumbling and its landing pads covered in dust. Crevariath banked toward it, descending with surprising grace. They landed with a soft thud, the dragon folding its wings and lowering itself to the ground. Jack slid off first, patting Crevariath's snout. Good boy, he said cheerfully. Sam followed, his eyes scanning the area. Looks empty, he said, his voice cautious. Could be a good place to rest for a while. The outpost was eerily quiet as they explored. Dust-covered consoles and empty supply crates hinted at its age, but the structure was still intact. Sam found a control panel and activated the power, the lights flickering to life with a faint hum. This place might just work, he said, glancing at Jack. At least for now. Crevariath rumbled again, settling near the entrance like a guardian. Its massive form blocked the main door, ensuring no one could approach unnoticed. That night, as Sam worked to secure the outpost, Jack sat beside Crevariath, leaning against the dragon's warm body. He looked up at the stars, his voice soft. Do you think they'll come back for us? He asked. Sam, seated nearby, paused before answering. Maybe. But we'll be ready. Jack nodded, then turned to Crevariath. You're not scared of them, are you? The dragon huffed, a warm breath ruffling Jack's hair. Jack grinned, taking that as a definitive no. Sam watched the exchange, a mix of awe and disbelief in his expression. You've really got him wrapped around your finger, haven't you? Jack shrugged. He's my friend. Your friend is the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, Sam said, shaking his head. And he's on our side. Jack smiled. That's why we're gonna win. The peace didn't last long. By dawn, the outpost sensors lit up, warning of an approaching fleet. Sam's heart sank as he studied the readouts. The Syndicate wasn't wasting any time. They had sent a battalion of ships, enough firepower to level the entire area. They're here, Sam said grimly, his voice waking Jack. Jack rubbed his eyes and looked out the window. Crevariath will stop them, he said confidently. Jack, Sam said, crouching beside him. It's not just one or two ships. This is a fleet. Even with Crevariath, I don't know if we can. A deafening roar interrupted him. Crevariath had risen, its massive wings unfurling as it stomped out of the outpost. The dragon's glowing red eyes fixed on the incoming fleet, and its chest began to glow faintly, a sign of the fire building within. Jack ran after the dragon, calling out, "Be careful." Sam grabbed his rifle and followed, his instincts kicking in. Stay close to me, Jack. The first wave of ships opened fire as they approached, plasma bolts lighting up the sky. Crevariath roared and launched into the air, twisting and rolling with surprising agility. The dragon retaliated with a stream of molten fire, cutting through the lead ship like a knife through butter. Sam watched in awe as Crevariath tore through the enemy formation, its claws and tail shredding anything in its path. But the Syndicate ships kept coming, their numbers overwhelming. We have to help him. Jack shouted. Sam knelt beside his son, gripping his shoulders. We will, but we need to be smart about it. Stay here. Sam ran to the outpost's control panel, scanning for any defenses he could activate. His fingers danced over the keys, and with a satisfying beep, a series of turrets sprang to life, firing at the remaining ships. The tide began to turn. Between Crevariath's ferocity and the outpost's automated defenses, the Syndicate fleet faltered. One by one, the ships fell, their wreckage raining down on the moon's surface. When the battle ended, the silence was deafening. Crevariath landed heavily near the outpost, its body smoking from minor burns and plasma grazes. Jack ran to the dragon, throwing his arms around its snout. You did it, he said, his voice full of pride. Sam approached, his rifle slung over his shoulder. I can't believe it, he muttered, shaking his head. You really are something else, aren't you? Crevariath rumbled softly, leaning into Jack's touch. Sam crouched beside his son, placing a hand on his shoulder. Jack, I don't know how, but you've given us a chance. You and Crevariath. You're a team. Jack grinned. We're the best team ever. In the days that followed, word of Crevariath's rebellion spread across the galaxy. The Syndicate's forces were weakened, and whispers of the dragon's loyalty to a human boy began to inspire hope in oppressed colonies. Sam and Jack, with Crevariath at their side, became symbols of resistance against tyranny. As they prepared to leave the outpost and continue their journey, Sam looked at his son and the massive dragon that had become their protector. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose. "All right, buddy," he said, ruffling Jack's hair. "Where to next?" Jack climbed onto Crevariath's back, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Wherever he wants to go." With a powerful leap, Crevariath took to the skies, carrying them into the unknown. Together they were unstoppable, a boy, his father, and the galaxy's deadliest dragon, bound by a bond that defied reason and changed everything.